Hey everyone, it's me, Andy,
And I'm Sean.
and this is the Commander's Brew.
This week, M21 set review.
Hey everyone, thanks for watching here on YouTube. It's the Commander's Brew, and if you want to help out, you know what to do. Hitting subscribe is really great. We're crawling up there. We're getting closer and closer to that 10K subscribers, which is a big milestone for any YouTube channel, and certainly ours. We're trying to get there, so you're helping us out a ton by hitting subscribe. If also you want to get involved, you can actually go to our Patreon, patreon.com/commandersbrew. If you were to become a patron, depending on the level you're at, join in on our Discord. Help us brew these decks that we're making here every week on the show. We have a lot of fun in our Discord, and it's a blast. So check us out, patreon.com/commandersbrew, or just hitting subscribe. It's great. So let's get into it right now. It's our big M21 set review, and this is going to be a good one.
So we're going to start with some legendaries. Then
Right.
some new legendaries. That's the most exciting thing as a Commander player. We're interested in who are the new creatures that say legendary that we can use as commanders that we are excited to use. We're going to talk about some of the other cards in the set that are especially interesting from a commander point of view. But if we miss one, let us know somehow in some sort of comment form of like a card that you think is like going to be a top commander card. We are not going to talk about every single card. We're going to keep this pretty tight. We're just going to pick our faves, the ones that kind of jump out at us.
That's right.
We would tell you what new mechanics or new things like that are if we can brew on those, but it's a core set, so there really aren't any new mechanics.
Nope. The most new looking thing is that, as we all know at this point probably, but mill has been keyworded. So some of these cards you'll see, obviously the blue ones, some of them are going to say mill on them for the first time ever. So that's kind of interesting. But that's the closest thing to an actual new mechanic. There really aren't any.
They caved.
They did. They caved in a number of ways, as we will get to in this first one. Sean, you want to take this first one?
Sure, it's Rin and Seri Inseparable. This is the buy a box promo. If you buy a box of M21, this is what you're going to get. And it's a Naya commander, 1 red, green, white, legendary dog cat. It's 2 creatures. It's like Rin and Seri are the 2 things, but in the creature type line it's just dog cat.
I know,
as if it was a mutant.
As if they're like melded. Yeah.
Yeah.
Dog cat nightmare.
I mean, the big update here is that dog is finally a creature type. Cat has been cat forever.
Yeah.
But there's always been hounds and
right.
other varieties of dogs, so that's neat. They did go back and retroactively change all the hounds into dogs, and that's relevant because here's what Rin and Seri does. Whenever you cast a dog spell, create a 1/1 green cat creature token, and whenever you cast a cat spell, create a 1/1 white dog creature token. And you can pay Naya, so you can pay red, green, white, and tap Rin and Seri, and then Rin and Seri Inseparable deals damage to any target equal to the number of dogs you control, and you gain life equal to the number of cats you control. The dogs bring the pain, and the cats heal your wounds by purring, because if you're near a purring cat, it has healing properties.
That's right, yeah. This is...
And they're 4/4, if I forgot to say.
Right, yeah. 4/4, 4/4, 4/4. Unbelievable. Yeah. I love the flavor on this card. I think it's really cool. I think they share green, kind of, dogs and cats, and then cats are more white and dogs are more red, so we get this red and white abilities. I think it's good. Fun. If you're gonna make all the hounds dogs, I guess Mark Rosewater got his way. Then yeah, let's give him a lord. And then I love pairing it with cats. That's great. I love it.
So funny.
It's who knows the power level of this card or this deck, but I just like this ability. This is a fun new, it's tribal, but it's 2 tribes, which I'm always a fan of. you go way
I
back.
bet you-
We did that as a show once.
I bet you, like, because this reminds me a little bit of Edgar Markov. There's a lot of cheap cats and cheap dogs, so you can probably get a ton of them out there. You're getting an extra token for every time you cast one, so you can probably get a very wide board very quickly. Obviously, it's not Eminence, but I bet you this is a pretty decent go wide deck.
Totally. And just so we're just while we're on the like topic of hounds and dogs and all that, there are I guess this is counting the cards in M21, but in total there are 89 dogs now in Magic.
Wow, that's a lot.
So there was a lot of hounds before, and just as a quick glance here, I'm noticing a lot coming from what's it called there? Dragons of Tarkir. There's a lot of like Tarkir Fate Reforged, because there was the Einok.
Yes.
Right? Like those, the Einok, like whatever they were, the people, they were like dog men. So they were all hound something. So all of those guys are dogs now. And
okay.
And just like, the what are they called there? The Leonin are like the cat people, right? So anyways.
Yeah.
So yeah, and then just go, just back from there, there's dogs of all colors. There's even like there's a blue dog. I can see here, and this is just in the first page I'm looking at. A lot of green, a lot of red. So these are obviously they do what they're doing. These are the right colors and everything. But there's a good amount of dogs, and some of them are pretty cool. So it looks like you'll be able to do some interesting stuff with this.
I also want to point out I'm a bit of a stickler for creature types. Like sometimes some of these trends really affect me. Jackals were not retconned to being dogs. Okay. Jackals are jackals. And there is a card called Dauthi Jackal, which is a Dauthi Hound. So you might be asking, did that become a dog or did that become a jackal? The title wins. That is a jackal, not a dog.
So, the title won. So did they change that?
Not all hounds are dogs.
So did they change? Did they change that too? Did they change hound to be jackal in that case?
Yes.
No
in this
way.
case, it is Dauthi Jackal.
But what a weird line to draw.
What a weird line.
Like
Jackals
clearly
are not dogs. Would it have killed you to make them dogs?
I'm looking at them, and let me tell you something. Jackal pup, that's a dog,
right? Like I believe you that there is a line at which these canine type animals become more wolf. I do believe a wolf is fully distinct. Keep that separate. But a jackal, I mean, that's more dog. Like, just make that a dog. I'm a fan of less creature types. Because let's make tribal cooler. Let's make it better.
You know what? Honestly, this is just confusing now, because if someone ever not that they would really play this in Commander, but just for argument's sake, Jackal Familiar is a single red for a 2/2. It's a creature, as printed, is called Jackal Familiar. It is creature hound, and it's a 2/2. So now if you have that card or one like it, it's not a dog, even though now all the hounds have changed to dogs. No, this is, like you said, the title wins out. Same thing. It's a jackal.
Oh.
What?
Wizards,
please. Wizards, please.
please.
Yeah, these guys are clearly dog men. Like, it's just the same thing as the Einok, so I don't get why they did that. But anyways.
If you're not going to let a jackal be a dog, how is a dog man of dog? like if you're going to reduce the Einok people to dog, surely jackals are closer to dogs than them.
That's true. Like Jackal Familiar, that art is just a dog. Jackal Pup, that's just a dog. Hey, I got a question. What about lions?
Oh, you want to know about lions?
Yeah.
Lots of so jackals are jackals if it's in the name, but lions are cats if it's in the name. You remember bronze hide lion or fleece mane lion? Lots of lions count as cats. Which now I'm thinking, if you're going to equate cats and lions, aren't wolves dogs?
Yeah, wolves are then dogs then.
Like what is the scope of all of this?
Yeah, I mean, the only thing you want is consistency on this, right? So that it makes sense across the board. But it seems like they can't even do that. Now, like, the hound cat thing didn't make sense. But now we have dogs, jackals, and wolves, which doesn't make sense because cats, lions, tigers, they're all the same.
Yeah.
Anyways,
Which I prefer. Like from a game point of view, I prefer that they're all kind of cats.
yeah,
I just think the like tribal synergies get better. I would almost love it if there was a general undead creature type, and within that, like you could have zombies and vampires
Right.
and things. So then you could have like, I mean,
Yeah.
I realize that is a crazy level of complexity that you have to like retroactively change a million and one things and
Yeah.
like it's just impossible by this stage. But that would be great in my opinion.
Yeah, it's something I bet you they would be up for if it was a digital only game, or I think the restrictions that Magic specifically deals with is in the type line, just getting those characters in there. That can be a
Yeah.
struggle sometimes.
Yeah.
But I like, why not and we kind of have it in Kalitas whenever he pops up, but he's a good vampire that cares about zombies a lot too, right? Like he
Yes.
combines the undead. But it would be cooler to get a more wider like undead person who's like vampires. We're talking skeletons. We're talking zombies.
I mean,
Ghouls.
you could like they've done things where they're like, hey, you know what? If it says historic, here's what it means: artifacts, legendary creatures,
Yeah.
legendary planeswalkers, and any sagas.
Yeah.
Like that, those things count. So they could just say like, from now on, we're saying undead, and undead counts as zombies, vampires, skeletons. You just keep it
Yeah.
there. Like maybe that's it.
Yeah.
That's what undead is, and now you got that. I don't know.
Or you like even like the way they did it for Dominaria, just one set. We're only talking about undead, and in there, there's some zombies, there's some vampires, there's skeletons. What's the fourth weird thing that they would include? Like for historic, it's like, oh yeah, sagas. Okay, that's a new thing. All right. What's the fourth weird thing that the undead would count? Like
It's
dirt,
gonna be
dirt
what?
monster.
yeah, like a white.
yeah, like a ghost. I guess that would be
Yeah.
the undead kind of. Although they
I
are
mean,
dead.
there's
So are zombies.
spirits
Anyway.
now. Like I don't know. It's a daunting task.
Anyways, let's get back on track a little bit.
Sure.
Renan Seri, inseparable, cool commander, happy to have it. And overall, we are happy with the dog thing. It's just that it's still inconsistent. You got to
Yes.
admit. Okay,
Yes.
next on as far as legendaries goes is Rada, Heart of Keld. We got a new Rada. I love Radas. They're all really cool. And this one's no different. 1 red, green for a 3/3 legendary elf warrior. As long as it's your turn, Rada has first strike. Strong. You may look at the top card of your library anytime, and you may play lands from the top of your library. Sweet. I like that. And then we got an ability here, 4 red, green. Rada gets +X/+X until end of turn, where X is the number of lands you control. So that's not a small boost. That's at least 6. Generally speaking, if you're talking about lands there. I love the putting first strike, but only putting it on your turn as like a way to incentivize attacking. Right? Because that may you want to take advantage of that first strike, so you want Rada to get in there and get into combat and attack. And it's not just, obviously first strike is a good defensive ability, but Gruul, I like them using it as an offensive ability. I think that's really great. Good design there. And yeah, man, they've in these 2 sets you're gonna see M21 and Jumpstart, which is also coming out. They gave us some play extra lands cards. Like they're not like that's a real big thing they're doing. It seems.
Great.
Yeah, cool.
Like maybe that's Green's color pie is expanding. Like it's like not only is it just like, oh, we have the ramp. It's like we have the ramp.
The ramp. We do it in many ways. You'll
Yeah,
see.
yeah.
But this is cool. I like Rada. It's in the same vein as the other Radas, and I think any Rada goes in any other Rada's commander deck. So
Sure.
get her into that 99 or start brewing around her. She's great.
Love it. Oh, we got another legendary who we've already seen in a Planeswalker deck. This is her appearance as a regular. This is like in a regular set. Niambi, Esteemed Speaker. Azorius was white and blue, 2 CMC for a 2/1 human cleric with flash. It's a cheap commander and it has flash. in colors that like to do things at instant speed. So
right.
let's see what Niambi does. When Niambi enters the battlefield, you may return another target creature you control to its owner's hand. If you do, you gain life equal to that creature's converted mana cost. And then you can pay 1 white blue, discard a legendary card, draw 2 cards. Interesting.
Yeah. Very specific abilities. Gaining life according to CMC. Discard a legendary card. I don't know.
It's interesting. You would expect on a commander that those 2 abilities would play with each other. That discarding these legendaries somehow matters, or she sees them go to the graveyard, or you would expect that you could return them from the graveyard or something to your hand.
Yeah.
It is interesting that they work on completely different axes.
I guess it's like I guess the real true like usage here is bounce like a legendary card you don't need, like that isn't doing well anymore, or simply just, oh, I got an extra legendary because I'm playing standard or something, and I got an extra, legendary that I can't play, so I'll just discard it and draw 2 cards. Like, sweet. That's a sweet ability. Change your legendaries into more card draw. Draw 2 cards at that. Like, it's not even just cycling. It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Commander-wise, which is obviously what we're talking about, I still kind of like it. It's... you're talking about a bouncing deck with some life gain synergies. Like, that's a cool combination I could get into. And then this kind of sort of random thing of discarding legendary cards. Like, you can just lean a little towards including legendary stuff and maybe make that work.
Yeah.
I like it.
I do too.
I love seeing, like, abilities you don't see all the time, and I love thinking about the, like, interesting ways we can brew around it. So they don't leap out at me as super powerful, but I like that. I like that. Next, we have Gadrak, the Crown Scourge. This one is the first of the monocolored legendaries, which I believe there's a couple, right? Anyways, 2 and a red, legendary creature, dragon. Got to have your mono red dragon. 5/4 flying. It can't attack unless you control 4 or more artifacts. So a 3-mana 5/4 with flying that can't attack until you have 4 or more artifacts. And then at the beginning of your end step, create a treasure token for each non-token creature that died this turn. Ooh, cool.
Yeah.
I like it. This mishmash of abilities, again, cool. Like, you want things to be dying. We going to be getting treasure tokens from it. This guy cares about artifacts anyways. Cool.
Red likes artifacts.
Red does like artifacts, yeah, definitely. Like the 3 mana for a 5/4 flying is still good. Like I always say that in Commander, a 5/5 flyer is still good. Like it's you can that's something your opponents can't ignore. 5/4 is a little bit less good, and so like having that rate is obviously not as important in Commander. But it's a way to get out there and start making treasure tokens, and a lot of them, right? For each non-token creature that died this turn, like that could be a lot. My only thing about Gadrak is like, man, I wish this was a Rakdos card.
Oh yeah.
Right? I just want this to be Rakdos. Like, what a cool card for your Rakdos sacrifice deck.
Well, but one thing I feel I must point out is that Gadrak.
Gadrak.
Doesn't have to be there when the creatures die.
Ah.
So that triggers at the beginning of your end step, regardless of whether Gadrak saw them go or not. So you could fire off a little blasphemous act or something, then cast your commander for 3, and then be like, oh, how many things died? 10? Okay, here's 10 treasure tokens. Your turn.
I like that a lot. Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, obviously, I feel like the monocoloredness is the thing that is the one thing that kind of holds this back a little bit. But obviously, there's still a lot of stuff you can do. I like this guy a lot.
Yeah, me too.
I just wish it was 2 colors.
I mean, this is the plight of all Commander players.
You can't have everything. I guess.
just want one more color on my Commander.
Yeah, you can't have it all.
Next, we got Vito, Thorn of the Dusk Rose.
Oh, Vito.
Vito. It feels so weird to have a Magic card named Vito.
I know. It's such a name. Like, it's such a guy's name.
Yeah.
Vito. Hey, Vito.
Yeah. Anyway, 2 and a black for a legendary vampire cleric, 1/3. Whenever you gain life, target opponent loses that much life. That's like
Yeah.
Sanguine Bond, right?
Yep, that's right.
Or is it the other one?
Yeah, sure.
Exquisite.
Exquisite Blood?
Yeah, it's
no, it's Sanguine Bond. Yeah.
This is Sanguine Bond. Exquisite Blood is what goes with it
Yeah.
to make it an infinite combo. Vito also has 3 black. Creatures you control gain lifelink until end of turn. If you've got any sort of board presence, that's a lot of life gained, and
Yeah.
as we know, that will be a lot of life lost for your opponents.
Yeah, that's don't like sleep on that ability basically. Giving everything lifelink, like it's just creatures you control just get lifelink. It can help you stay in a game that you otherwise have no business being in.
I already played a brawl match against a Vito deck.
Really?
And it was just full of little things that, like, just dumb little life linkers. I'm just like, this is adding up very fast. Like,
I played a standard game against it where they were playing the cat
oven.
the cat oven with Vito, and it's like, ooh, that's rough, man. He's getting
Yeah.
so much life in that deck, and then he just
Yeah.
plays. I got down to 3 life. I'd stabilize, and then he had Vito out, and he just played Revitalize. It's like, okay, well, I'm dead.
Brutal.
Yeah,
Brutal.
So a cool card, and like it's a known ability in Commander, and to have it on a legendary creature is pretty cool. So, yeah, I think we're gonna see this guy pop up quite a bit. I'm excited about this one, Mangara, the Diplomat. Mangara's back. Mangara has an old card that involves exiling creatures and something like that, I think. Anyways, 3 and a white for the legendary human cleric, 2/4. Lifelink. Whenever an opponent attacks with creatures, which is kind of funny because how do you attack without creatures? Whenever an opponent attacks with creatures, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
Can you attack with no creatures?
I feel like I read, when this was first spoiled or previewed, I feel like I read a lot on the wording of it.
Yeah.
And there is something about what Mangara does that is relevant to how it's worded.
Weird. Okay. Well, at any rate, whenever, I'm sure it's some corner weird rules thing. Whenever an opponent attacks with creatures, if 2 or more of those creatures are attacking you and or planeswalkers you control, draw a card. Whenever an opponent casts their second spell each turn, draw a card. So if there's some of you out there who are not as deep into Magic internet as we are, and like you don't follow Mark Rosewater or like read his a blog or whatever like that. It's probably most Magic players, I would imagine. Anyways, he basically, before this set was dropped, he basically admitted that he was kind of wrong about keeping card draw out of white, because he admitted that it is too important a part of the game to deny a whole piece of the color pie that ability, which is just a base game mechanic ability that he felt like, he admitted, he's like, we've been wrong to keep it out of that color for this long. And I'm guessing the timing of him saying that, because obviously they come up with these sets this set's been done for as far as R&D goes for like a long time now. The timing of that is no coincidence, and now here we have Mangara, which is like a really great card draw card for white. It's really, really good. It's dissuading your opponents from attacking you, otherwise you draw cards, but also just drawing you cards because your opponents are going to cast 2 spells. Like, they're going to do that. You're going to draw cards. I love it.
Yeah. And you know what? I got into quite a few internet fights with people saying that, like my stance was always, there's 1,000,001 ways to let white draw cards that are tied to other things that white does. And this is a perfect example of it.
Perfect example.
Right? White punishes you for attacking. Like if I'm running white cards, my white cards punish you for attacking me, like this one does, right? Yeah. I get to draw cards. If you do too much in a turn, like white punishes.
Keeping it equal, right? I love it. Exactly. Keeping it equal. White's all about that equality. So the second ability here, where if an opponent casts their second spell or casts their spell, you draw a card, is like perfect. That's exactly it, man.
Mangara can't draw cards. You can't do anything to draw cards with Mangara. It's all on your opponent's shoulders.
That's right. That's true. Yes, what a great, Yeah. I mean, obviously that's like not some crazy powerful card, right? You can't do anything to draw extra. This is just a 2/4 lifelinker if your opponent just doesn't do these things, right? But
Yeah.
in doing that, in keeping your opponent from doing those things, like that's one of the card's strengths, I suppose. Obviously, I think
Is
this
this
gets
card already $100,000 and will be forever because every commander deck with white needs
yeah.
one?
Take a look, check it out.
It's currently $7.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I think it's a commander card, all right, right? Because an opponent attacks with creatures, and then if two of them are attacking you or a planeswalker you control, you draw the card. So if people just don't attack you, you're not getting anything. But that second thing is going to come up all the time.
Yeah.
We love Bangara. I like, depending on your color pair, obviously, right? That's the other thing. I'm not just saying you jam this in every white deck. You probably put it in every mono white deck.
And every Boros deck.
And every Boros deck, so it's one of those cards. But finally, and hopefully we're going to see more of these, maybe even at lower rarity instead of this mythicness that we're getting here. That's going to drive the price up a bit. But
Yeah.
it's good to see, and it's good to see that like the philosophy on that has changed a tiny bit, because I couldn't agree with it more. I think it's about time, and I'm glad to see it.
Great. That closes our legendary section. Now we're just going to move through the different colors, starting with colorless, because those go in any commander deck. Then we're going to go through Wooburg order, and then hit up some multicolor spells. So Andy, what's the first colorless spell we got here?
Hold on, is that all? Is that all the legendaries?
No, those are all the ones that like stand out as especially interesting. That do anything more.
Oh, I didn't put any legendaries in my thing because I just assumed we were doing all of them. Let me just take 2 seconds, because I think I won't go through them all, but there might have been one more.
There aren't tons more, but
No, I
think
know.
there's a mono red. There's another mono red one that's like seemed pretty dull.
There's a couple of 2-color ones. There's the black. Oh no, that's okay. No, I'm thinking. Never mind. I'm thinking of Jumpstart. I'm not thinking of M21. Don't worry, we're good. I think. Yep. No, we're good.
Now we did miss one, but again, it was just Baron. Like I left him out, and I left out Kervik the Spiteful, where it makes all other creatures
Yeah.
-1/-1.
No. I'm thinking of Jumpstart anyways, so we're
Okay.
good. Yeah.
I don't have Joel Rail in here either. I definitely left a few out that just seemed a little plain.
Yeah. I mean, whatever. I'm fine with this. Okay.
Okay.
So you said read the colorless one, right? Okay, here we go.
Yeah.
So I think we should just mention that there are other legendaries, but like you can look them
Sounds
up.
good.
Yeah. Right on. Okay, but before I get to the colors, we do want to mention just that there are a few other monocolored legendaries in the set. But like we said, we're not going to talk about every single card. And like they're kind of basic anyway. So look them up. Look, and I'm sure there's going to be some fun commander decks with them. But there's nothing super crazy that we haven't seen before. All right, let's move to the colorless ones, like you said, and also we're going to talk about reprints later as well. So we're just going through the new cards here. Chromatic Orrery is the big colorless one that jumps out at you from this set. It's the mythic 7-mana legendary artifact. It says you can spend mana as though it were mana of any color. Interesting. You tap and you add 5 colorless. And you can pay 5 generic, tap it, and draw a card for each color among permanents you control. So you can spend mana as though it were mana of any color. So that 5 colorless that Chromatic Orrery taps for the turn you play it is any color of mana you want. That's any combination of any colors. And then obviously the 5 and tap it is just, depending on how many colors you're running. But this fixes your mana and it ramps you, but you must already be at 7. So we've got that. Gilded Lotus to me is a classic example of something that's close to this, right? Where it's a 5-mana ramp spell, but when it ramps you good. It's just that it
gives you 3 back.
Right? So it only really costs us 2 if we have something to use that mana for. Same thing with Chromatic Orrery, 7 mana, get that 5 back right away. I think you're going to be able to spend 5 mana. Sometimes it is tough to spend the 3 from the Gilded Lotus, but Orrery, I mean, you're going to be able to do it. Yeah. So what do you like?
This card, this card looks super splashy.
Yeah.
And I love like these are the best cards that Wizards prints. We're all excited about them. Realistically, these type of cards live in sort of a mid to low powered environment, because the play pattern to get to this is either like play a land, play another land, play a mana rock, use that mana rock to play a medium-sized mana rock, use all of those mana rocks in my lands to play this thing, and now I'm ready to start playing. And it's like turn 5.
Yeah.
You've just been ramping. So I mean that's definitely fine. The other thing I might want to do is like you can cheat out artifacts with like Duretti and things like that. That's probably a fancy way to do that. It's like it's super fun, but I think it's a little bit pricey to look at it as a ramp spell.
Yes, you can't. I don't think you can look at it as a ramp spell. I was going to say that.
Yeah, and so then what is it? So then it's like an amazing filtering, but like Chromatic Lantern's better for that.
Totally,
like I mean,
yeah.
I can also spend mana as though we're in a color. Technically not if it comes from like a colorless mana rock.
Yeah.
But I mean, I'm probably okay with that. And drawing a card for each color among permanents is an interesting ability because it implies I have all 5 colors, but if I have all 5 colors, I've got better draw spells than this. Like, I don't need this to be drawing me cards if I've got blue as part of it. And if I only have Boros colors, I don't think I want this card.
The one thing I do like about this card over something like a traditional ramp spell like Gilded Lotus and stuff is that draw card ability. Because, if you're stuck with a hand with either just lands or you've run out of cards, you're at the stall period of game. Like maybe you might have like an enchantment. Maybe you've got some kind of like removal type enchantment on something else or something like that, or maybe you have like one of those colored artifacts. I don't know what's going on. You're probably running a 5-color deck with this card, but it is going to at least be able to like in those situations draw you a card or two, albeit for like a lot of mana, because you have to tap this plus 5 mana, and this thing taps for 5, so it's not like you're just tapping one of your mana rocks. Like you're losing 5 mana that you could be spending otherwise, so it's kind of a lot. But
you can't use it's 5 to draw.
You can't, but at least it has that though. Like I think that's a nice. Like I think you're gonna find yourself appreciating that in the late game if the game's not going your way at least. I don't know. It's very Commander-ish. It looks so good, but it is one of those cards where it's like, I'm not going to be able to play this. 7 mana, I got to get there.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the format for it, so.
Yeah.
But like you said, in those artifact decks, I think it's going to be crazy. Like this thing is also broken. You're untapping this thing. If you can cheat this out and then just start untapping and stuff like that, like you're drawing cards, you're adding so much mana, like it can get wild.
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, it feels okay to know you're getting 5 of that 7 back right now.
Yeah.
Like, if it resolves, like you're only down 2.
Yeah, exactly. That's why it's not a ramp spell. It's just like it's almost like you get to play one thing for free and this, like it's weird.
Yeah.
Anyways, what's next?
Very interesting. Well, we're on to some white cards. Here's an instant called Angelic Ascension. 1 and a white for an instant. Exile target creature or planeswalker. Its controller creates a 4/4 white angel creature token with flying.
I like it.
Exile at instant speed, creature or planeswalker. White doesn't get to do that a lot.
Yeah.
They get a 4/4 angel, which, if you are packing this as removal, I'm going to assume you have ways of dealing with that angel. And in a multiplayer game, this actually becomes a deal making where you're like, okay, maybe if we want to team up, can I give you an angel? Are you willing to get rid of this little support creature for getting an angel to help us fight this other person?
Interesting stuff there. I mean, I like this card for the budget players out there, the people just starting up. They're going to get this in their packs if they are opening physical packs, which, let's face it, not a lot of us are doing in the next couple of months. But anyways, Angelic Ascension is obviously worse than stuff like Swords and Path to Exile, but like it's the poor man's version of that, and I'll take it any day. We know that stuff like Reality Shift and like Pongify and cards like that are actually pretty good because they're removal in a color that doesn't usually get it. Well, if you don't have a ton of that good exile removal in white, like in your collection, this is going to slide in there and be pretty good. 4/4 is not nothing to give to an opponent, but like you take it over, their dominating planeswalker or like their commander the turn that they're going to win, like instant speed, giving them that is fine.
Yeah.
Yeah. Cool. I like it. Next we have Basri's Lieutenant, 3 and a white. It's a 3/4 human knight. It has vigilance and protection from multicolored. So protection is in this set still. And guess what? So is hexproof from specific colors. I thought one was replacing the other. Anyways. Vigilance and protection from multicolored. When Basri's Lieutenant enters the battlefield, you put a +1/+1 counter on target creature you control. And whenever Basri's Lieutenant or another creature you control dies, if it had a +1/+1 counter on it, create a 2/2 white knight creature token with vigilance. I like the kind of sacrificing potential for a card like this. Like if we're talking about some maybe like undying creatures that come back with +1/+1 counters on them, any type of stuff that you can recur, that 0/0 card that comes in with counters on it and stuff like that. Like I don't know. It just felt like to me this card has some kind of combo-y potential. That if we're spitting out creatures, and counters, like that could be really cool.
I also just like the prospect of running Basri's Lieutenant in a +1/+1 counter themed deck.
Yes.
So that you've got a reset from the first board wipe. Like a board wipe happens, you're like, well, guess what? Now I've got 12 knights.
Yeah.
So what next?
Man, I love that movie, 12 Nights.
Yeah.
Yeah.
12th
Night was really about the last one you got because you had a Hydra that died.
Yep.
All right. What's next?
We got Griffin Airy. This is 1 and a white for an enchantment. At the beginning of your end step, if you gain 3 or more life this turn, create a 2/2 white Griffin token with flying. That's a theme in M21. There's a lot of gain 3 life things. And I think this is a small cost to potentially get a lot of value from. I mean, if you're a life gain deck, gaining 3 on your turn is not that hard. So just churning out it's an extra 2/2 on all of your turns is pretty good. And I just want to remind you that if Oloro gets his hands on any of these cards, you just have to gain that 1 life that is beyond your general.
I really like Griffin Airy because it gives a life gain deck in Commander some sort of inevitability. It's pretty slow, don't get me wrong. You're getting 1/2/2 a turn if you gain 3 life. But at least it's something, because the worst is when a life gain deck just sits there and gains life and doesn't do anything else. So at least in this case, it's doing something. So even though it is small and slow, it's something. So I don't mind it.
Yeah.
Next, we have Idol of Endurance. It's an artifact, but it's white. It's 2 and a white for an artifact. When Idol of Endurance enters the battlefield, exile all creature cards with converted mana cost 3 or less from your graveyard until Idol of Endurance leaves the battlefield. Pay 1 and a white and tap it. Until end of turn, you may cast a creature spell from among these cards exiled with Idol of Endurance without paying its mana cost. So do you like Lurrus? Do you want Lurrus's ability in a white-red deck or in a white-green deck? We can give you that. We can give you that with Idol of Endurance in a way. So that's
I
kind of
love
cool.
that I love that they gave us the text until Idol of Endurance leaves the battlefield. So if people destroy this, all your cards aren't trapped in exile. They go right back into the graveyard.
Yeah, I love that too. Of course, it's really good. I think there's some real value here. I mean, you're only potentially on mana saving 1, but just being able to get some recursion like that is pretty cool.
Yeah,
we've made some decks recently, I think, that would have loved this card. So
for sure.
Yeah.
This one's next. This is an interesting enchantment. It's called 9 Lives.
I love this art.
Yeah, there are for sure lions in this as well. But also, like, Mufasa's one of them. I think second one from the left on the top.
Yeah, very good. I think also we have Kemba, Ka Regent, is actually in the bottom right.
I think these are famous Magic cats.
Like, maybe. Are they dead?
One of those got to be a Johnny, right?
That's what I was thinking, but Ajani is not dead. So
No,
are they all?
neither is Kemba Ka, right?
I don't know. I don't know the story of Kemba.
I don't either. So this is an enchantment with hexproof. If a source would deal damage to you, prevent that damage and put an incarnation counter on 9 lives. And when there's 9 or more on here, you exile it. And when 9 lives leaves the battlefield, you lose the game.
Yeah. Yeah, be careful.
Yeah, if you can prevent damage, you're good. But when you take damage, even if you take 1 point of damage, you can't choose to do it.
No.
So
it's also, if someone, it's got hexproof, but as we know, there are ways to get around hexproof. Like you can, like amass like permanent return, like a cyclonic rift.
Yeah, you lose.
You lose the game.
Yeah.
So as Jason Alt tweeted, he mentioned that everyone's trying to break 9 lives with Solemnity, which is the
you can't put counters
the
on
one
it.
that you can't put counter. It makes it that you can't put counters on stuff. So like, yeah, you can sit there, take damage all day, and you never actually take it. And of course, it gets no counters. However, he was like, you should be looking at trying to play like what's that? It's the red. I always forget the name of it. It's the red card with the little cat on it that's turning into an Eldrazi, and it's like a gift. It's
where you trade it to someone else.
Yeah, it's like a donation thing. So like you should take 9 lives and donate it to someone. And then bounce it, and they just lose. So and
it's still hexproof from your opponents.
Well,
no, they control it now. So now it's
yeah.
now you can't target it anymore.
Exactly. So you wouldn't be able to target it. But again, like one of those
they destroy it,
big
it's left.
like return all permanents to their all non-land permanents, that kind of stuff. Anyway, so it's just an interesting card, something new you don't see very often, and I think there's going to be we're going to see some ways to exactly. We're going to see some ways to break this card.
Nice.
Next we have Speaker of the Heroes. Sorry, Heavens. Speaker of the Heavens. A single white for a 1/1 human cleric, vigilance and lifelink. You tap it and you create a 4/4 white creature token. A 4/4 white angel creature token with flying. Activate this ability only if you have at least 7 life more than your starting life total, and only anytime you'd cast a sorcery. So it's a nice source for the types of decks that are like Trostani type decks, where you want to make tokens and gain a bunch of life and stuff like that. And 7 life more than your starting total is an interesting thing. I think like this is the fair way to do it. Obviously, we've seen cards where it's like 30 or more life in the past.
Yeah.
This is the fair way to do it. It's more difficult this way, but not impossible. Like first couple turns, you can gain some life, and you can just be at this, and then start pumping out some angels. So again, kind of slow, but low mana cost on this makes it something that those decks are going to be thinking about. The lifelink decks got a lot of stuff to do with M21, it seems like, and I kind of don't like it because I don't like life gain decks because they make the game last hours. But hopefully it's stuff like this where now they're pumping out 4/4 angels and they're killing us with them at least.
Yes,
Put me out of my misery, life gain decks, please.
Shall we move on to blue cards?
Yes, we shall.
Let's talk about discontinuity.
Ooh, yeah.
3 blue for an instant. It's a mythic. As long as it's your turn, the spell costs 2 blue less to cast. In other words, it costs 1 and a blue if it's your turn. So it's a fancy way to say is, you can cast that as an instant or pay less if you don't want it as an instant. Here's what it does. End the turn.
You will want to cast this as an instant even on your own turn because of this, yeah.
Yeah, it ends the turn. So you might want your turn to end if you have a lot of abilities that say until end of turn. Mm-hmm. No, well, those ones will end.
Oh yeah, they'll still end. If you want to get rid of a specific trigger or something.
Yeah, like if you have a trigger that happens during your end step, you won't get an end step, so that trigger won't happen.
Yeah.
If you want to avoid a combat step, for example, like you can do a big attack, and if people put a bunch of spells on the stack, you can end the turn, so the stack is cleared, those spells will not resolve, combat will not happen, like we'll just freeze where it is and just go to the next person. You would want to end it on someone else's turn right after, like at the beginning of their upkeep step. You can end their turn with their upkeep triggers on the stack, but you can't prevent them from untapping.
Right.
They will untap, And so if they have a counterspell in hand, they will be able to interact with this.
Interesting. It's funny, the timing on this also for Commander specifically, many of us probably saw the Command Zone episode, mini kind of episode that they did about Rune and how Rune gained a lot of power from the recent rule change when it comes to exiling commanders and how that works, because they changed the death trigger thing, which is a whole thing we don't want to get into. But it was, so basically if you have Rune, you can blink a commander, and then when they decide to let it go to exile because it's going to come back, if you have something that ends the turn, their commander is permanently exiled because they allowed it to go to exile. That's the short version of it. And Discontinuity is exactly one of those cards that's going to allow that to happen. So look for this when you're playing against Rune players, in addition to a couple other abilities. But it's that type of ability. I like. So correct me if I'm wrong. Like, this also works with like anything where the commander would be put into exile if they think they're just going to get it back. Like if it's like an exile and bring it to the battlefield type thing, right?
Yes.
Right. So like
yes.
anything that does it at end of turn, so like Miss Meadow Witch would do the same thing, I believe. Like you can target a creature with Miss Meadow Witch and it would come back. It exiles it, and that creature is going to come back at end step.
But a lot of them are phrased comes back at the next end step.
Yeah, I think that's what Rune does too, doesn't it?
So if you end a turn before the end step, there will be a next end step. It just won't be the one you expect. So those things will come back in.
No, so what you do is you do it in response to the return trigger. So the end step happens, the trigger, the Rune's trigger to return it to the battlefield, that's when you end the turn. That trigger goes away, and so so the thing never returns. So I think I'm pretty sure like a card like Miss Meadow Witch works the same way, where there's a return trigger and you can end the turn before that and then that trigger just goes away.
Huh.
So, I mean, this is I think this is the number one usage you're going to see from a card like this. That's why I'm kind of talking about it. But there are other stuff. There's other less kind of mean things to do with it, and also probably even a few more powerful things to do with it. So keep your eyes open for this card.
It for sure goes in Lightsaber Tribal or Severed Fingers Tribal.
Yeah, look out for Severed Fingers Tribal, where it's the new Screaming Bald guy. Or you know what? Or did this guy like buy an arm off the black market and now is just chopping it up?
It's a secretly very gruesome art.
Yeah,
it's hidden a little bit because it's light blue and there's a lightsaber. Yeah. But if you look closely,
sand on there and there's an hourglass.
We are seeing 3 fingers mid chop off.
Just get chopped, pure chopped. And this is like a light. This isn't a lightsaber. It's a light dagger. Because it really does end at her pinky finger there.
Yeah.
Anyways.
Gruesome.
Gruesome. No blood, but a lot of sand.
Mm-hmm.
The new blood. Sand is the new blood.
Yeah.
All right. Okay, next we have Ghostly Pilferer. 1 in a blue, 2/1 spirit rogue. Whenever Ghostly Pilferer becomes untapped, you can pay 2, and if you do, draw a card. Whenever an opponent casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card. And you can discard a card, and Ghostly Pilferer can't be blocked this turn. So it kind of has the key to the city thing, or what is it called?
On itself, key to the city.
Is that what it is? Key to the city?
Yeah.
Something like that. Yeah. So when it untaps, you can pay the 2, draw the card, and you can discard a card to make it unblockable. So it comes with those abilities right on it. And then whenever an opponent casts a spell from anywhere other than their hand, draw a card. Like that can be a source. Like I wouldn't
like the command zone.
That's right, exactly. So like that can be a pretty major source even outside of the command zone. So the Pilferer might be something worth looking at. Like this, like I'm not saying it goes in every blue deck, but like man, it can be strong if it fits the other themes maybe you're going for. Like this is a definite include.
Yeah, it's a spirit and a rogue. Like there's a lot of those creature types sometimes care if you do combat damage. Mm-hmm. If you're a deck that wants to like get little unblockable things through, like this is a good chance to do that.
Yeah, exactly. And like I said, it might be good enough just to include. I don't know, but just for card draw, I suppose you'll probably know. But so like, how many commanders get cast in a game? Like you know what I mean?
I don't know. Like all of them once.
They say that like once you get your commander removed, you're unlikely to cast it again. But there are decks that just need their commander, so they go hard at it. And if that's the case, Pilfer's drawing you a couple of cards.
Yeah.
Anyways, cool card.
Cool. Next up, Teferi's Ageless Insight. 2 blue, legendary enchantment. If you would draw a card, except the first one you draw on each of your draw steps, draw 2 cards instead. So it doubles all your draws, except for that first one on your normal draw step. You know your deck better than we do. Are you drawing a lot of cards, a bunch? Draw double.
Draw double. There is a card that already does this, and it costs 6, I think. So the fact that this one now costs 4, the fact that it's legendary doesn't mean anything to us. That's probably just a bonus for any deck that would want this card. So, yeah, just there you go. There's a 4-mana version of it now, and it does. And this one doesn't count your first card. The other one does count it. So that's the downside. But still, good for those many different types of card draw decks. Next we have Sublime Epiphany. This is a neat card. The art on this one's really great too. M21 coming through with some good core set art. 4 blue for the instant. Choose one or more. Counter target spell. Counter target activated or triggered ability. Return target non-land permanent to its owner's hand. Create a token that's a copy of target creature you control. And target player draws a card. So this is pretty cool. So 6 mana for an instant.
Yeah.
That we can counter a spell. So, like, what's the average case scenario here? So we wait until we can counter a spell with it, obviously, I think, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's probably when you cast this.
Right. And then you're going to bounce something.
Yeah.
And then we're going to, if we have a creature out, which we probably do, we'll create a token that's a copy of it. And if it's our commander, we might be screwed a little bit there, but like, whatever. And then we also draw a card. 6 mana.
Yeah.
I feel like that's the average case scenario too. Like we're getting 4 of these 5 things. That's
and let's be
good.
honest, the thing that we're copying on our side of the board probably has an ETB. So we're probably getting something else out of there.
Yeah. But I think it's even worth it to put a card like this in the deck, even if that's not the case. Like even if we're not really leaning on ETB stuff, like just the fact that it gets you a creature, gets rid of one of their permanents, albeit temporarily, counters a spell, and draws you a card. Like, what is this? Like, 1, 2. This is like a lot of the time. This is a 4 for 1. Most times. Like, you're bouncing a permanent. You're creating a creature of your own. You're drawing a card, and you're dousing one of their spells.
Yeah.
That's pretty good.
Well, and I love the addition of counter target activated or triggered ability, because now we have something like a super counter spell that works for all those spells that have a cast trigger. So, because before it's like, well, go ahead, counter my spell. I'm still going to get my cast trigger.
Yeah.
It's like, not this time.
Yeah, exactly. That's the real, like that's the trigger that like the Eldrazi cast triggers, or like Hydroid Krasis. Like, forget it. You're not getting that. Yeah.
Forget it.
Cool stuff. Yeah. I love Sublime Epiphany. I think it's tough to make a 6 mana counter spell look really good to me, but this one does it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah.
What up?
That's it for blue. Do you want to take the first black card?
Okay. Black. Okay, Liliana's Standard Bearer. 2 and a black for a 3/1 flash zombie knight. When it enters the battlefield, you draw X cards, where X is the number of creatures that died under your control this turn. Interestingly enough, you do not have to lose life here, which is a classic black thing, but I guess you're sort of paying for it in the fact that these creatures died. So go ahead, trade your creatures off for whatever needs to happen that turn, whether it's blocking or anything, because he's got flash, so he's going to come in and draw you a bunch of cards. Solid card here.
Yeah, it doesn't say non-token, which is huge.
Right.
So yeah, like post, if you have 3 up and a board wipe happens, you're laughing.
I just want to see the deck, like the Dimir deck that uses this plus like one of those like an infinite loop of sacking creatures to just draw your whole deck and win with Lab Maniac.
Oh yeah, that's fun. That's
pretty fun. Yeah. Okay, so this guy died a million times, so now I'll cast Liliana's Standard Bearer with Lab Maniac out. Cool. What do we have next?
We got Peer into the Abyss. This is a wild one. This is another one of those weirdo cards that they're just like, can we do this? 4 black, black, black for a sorcery. That's 7 mana. Target player draws cards equal to half the number of cards in their library and loses half their life, rounded up each time. So, I don't know, do you do this on your opponent and make them draw like 40 and take 20? Or do you do this on yourself to draw 40 and take 20 or something like that? Like, if you probably don't have a lot of mana left over from the 7, but I mean, if you do, you drew whatever you were looking for.
I couldn't possibly hate the art of this card anymore.
Yeah, I know what you
I
mean.
just, you know what? Not just because it's totally gross and totally weird, but because I can't stop looking at it. You know, like it's hideous, but it's so well done that it's extra hideous, and I truly cannot stop looking at it. I hate it, but I also kind of like it.
Yeah.
Great job, Izzy. Yeah, this I think I want to target myself with this card most of the time. I think.
Yeah, okay.
I think.
I mean,
depends on what's going on, but
like you're going to have to, most likely, unless you got a Reliquary Tower, you're going to have to dump a ton of those into the graveyard, which is probably what you want anyway.
exactly. Yeah. I mean, it's essentially mill most of those cards, right?
Yeah, it's like the equivalent of like draw 40, discard like 37.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, bad deal. Speaking of it, bad deal is next. Bad deal. 4 black black for a sorcery that says you draw 2 cards and each opponent discards 2 cards. Each player loses 2 life. So everyone's losing the 2 life, except that I get 2 cards and you have to lose 2 cards. So it's just kind of like a mind rot for Commander, kind of. But even better, like we're drawing cards off of it too. So this is pretty good.
Very expensive, but a huge effect. If you like, I think a lot of decks want I think the discard deck likes this.
Yes, I was gonna say you need to want the discard for not just the card advantage. Like you're not just trying to make your opponents ditch cards. You want to benefit from that in another way as well. Cool.
How about Liliana's Devotee? 2 and a black for a human warlock. Zombies you control get +1/+1/+0. Always great to get another zombie sort of lord there. At the beginning of your end step, if a creature died this turn, you may pay 1 and a black. If you do, create a 2/2 black zombie creature token. Great.
Yeah, solid. Classic. Make me more zombie tokens, please.
Yeah.
Next is Witch's Cauldron. Single black for an artifact. 1 and a black. Tap. Sack a creature. You gain a life and draw a card. It's always nice to get these types of effects, just because like not everyone goes back and gets all those old cards. So if you're a newer player, you're coming into Magic and you're playing M21, Witch's Cauldron's a nice one to add to your Commander deck.
Yeah.
2 mana to pay to gain a life and draw a card's not nothing.
Yeah, Psych Outlets are great. It's cheap to cast and pretty cheap to use.
Yeah, taps not great, obviously, but it's okay. What's next? Oh, we're on to
got some red cards here.
Okay.
Brash Taunter, 4 and a red, goblin, 1/1, indestructible. Whenever Brash Taunter is dealt damage, it deals that much damage to target opponent. This is very similar to Stuffy Doll. Same cost, but it has color mana instead of just colorless. But it also has 2 and a red, tap, Brash Taunter fights another target creature. Hold the phone. This is big.
Yeah.
It is not uncommon on a table at Commander to see like a 10/10 or a 12/12.
Yeah.
This reads 2 and a red, deal 12 to anybody.
Yeah, exactly. Pretty sweet. Like you don't have to choose the opponent.
Creatures.
Right. You can't hit creatures. Yeah.
But neither could Stuffy Doll, so this is fine.
Yep.
And Stuffy Doll, you had to pick the person,
Yes.
and you couldn't change it. This card's great.
Yeah, this card's really cool. But like, I love. I gotta say, when we were going through these cards, all the cards from 21, I was surprised at the high number of red cards I was picking out and being like, "Oh wow, this is good. This is good." Because usually, red is by far the one with the least cards that we're looking at.
Yeah.
Oddly enough, even more so than white sometimes. But yeah, no, Brash. There's a lot of good red cards here. Brash Taunter is one of the best ones. This is a really cool card. And not to mention that, yeah, you can pump this guy up. Put this guy in a Gruul deck or some kind of Auras deck or something. I don't know. And then he's just picking off creatures and dealing crazy amounts of damage to
Right.
opponents. Like, that's wild.
Right. I was assuming the fight has no actual way to win, but
Yeah.
you could win the fights too.
It's the best part is like you don't even need to win the fights, right? Like that's
Yeah.
so great. So
Yeah.
yeah, like Boros, like equipment thing. I don't know. There's a lot of different decks this guy could slide into and be pretty happy about it.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Next we have Conspicuous Snoop. Red for a 2/2 Goblin Rogue. You play with the top card of your library revealed. You may cast Goblin spells from the top of your library, and as long as the top card of your library is a Goblin card, Conspicuous Snoop has all activated abilities of that card. I didn't look up goblins with activated abilities, but you kind of don't really need to, because just know that throw this guy in like a red-black goblins deck and you're going to be pretty happy with the results. We don't usually talk too much about, like we don't usually go into a lot of detail about specific tribal cards outside of the commanders, like outside of the legendaries, just because like this has to do with one deck, like the cat deck or the elves deck or whatever. But but sometimes they come along and they're so good and they're so different from what you normally see that I think you have to mention them. And I think Conspicuous Snoop is definitely one of those cards. Like it gives the goblin deck a whole different thing. Like now we're looking at activated abilities and we can cast them from the top of our library. It's giving us card advantage that way. Like, so it's very, very cool. 2 minutes
Yeah,
into Goblin.
neat.
Yeah.
I like it. Next up, Double Vision. It's a 5 mana do nothing enchantment. We love those.
Love those.
But once you land it, whenever you cast your first instant or sorcery spell each turn, copy that spell. You may choose new targets for the copy. That's pretty good.
Yep.
Uh,
Usually you have to put a lot of mana into these things. This one you just do it once.
Right, you do it once because, like what you're saying, Andy. A lot of copy effects, they come with a price. Like you never get to copy for free. You have to pay something. Here, we're going to pay it up front and copy for the rest of the game. And I know there's enchantments that let you copy every spell you cast, but usually just copying the first one every turn is enough to get the job done. And because this is an enchantment, you can cast an instant after this if you have the mana and still get the copy. It doesn't copy your first spell each turn, just your first instant or sorcery.
Right, good call. Yeah, like the blue version of this I think costs like 7 mana or something.
It's too much.
And it's just too much. Yeah, like I've included it in decks on the show, and then later I'll go play those decks and I'll be like, oh man, there's never a window where I want to cast this card.
No.
It's a win more that you don't have time for, kind of, right? Like you want to.
No.
So Double Vision is better than that. It still isn't like, obviously it's still like 3 mana. Obviously less mana would be better, but I'm more likely to play this even though it does only copy the first instant or sorcery. So I like it better. Next we have Fiery Emancipation. 3 red for an enchantment. It's the mythic. It says if a source you control would deal damage to a permanent or player, it deals triple that damage to that permanent or player instead. So we got Nyx Bloom Ancient. Was that what it was called?
Yeah, that was the one. Triples your mana.
Triples the mana. Well, now we have a red enchantment that triples the damage.
And so obviously if you're interested in doubling damage, you're interested in tripling damage.
For sure, yeah.
And we gotta remember who, I think it's like, I forget. This came up in an old show. I forget who chooses the order we do these, because obviously you're going to want to triple it last. You want to double first and then you triple at the end. But I forget who stacks them.
I mean, they're your triggers, aren't they? Wouldn't you get to stack them?
You might think so, but I remember we brewed a deck with Torbrand before, and he added 2, but also that had doubling effects, and I think your opponent got to choose the order. I'm gonna look that up.
Yeah, I seem to remember that too. Actually, weird.
I'm looking it up.
Okay, you look it up. I'll read the next card. The next one is Terror of the Peaks. It's 3 red for a dragon. 5/4 flyer. It says spells your opponents cast that target Terror of the Peaks cost an additional 3 life to cast. So if they're going to try and kill it, they got to pay 3 life. More relevant for standard and limited, obviously. Whenever another creature enters the battlefield under your control, Terror of the Peaks deals damage equal to that creature's power to any target. So, Terror of the Peaks comes in, and it is a Warstorm Surge with wings. Very, very solid. Again, if you're into this ability, and you've got Warstorm Surge, and you've got like Footsteps of the Ancients or something like that. There's another red enchantment that does it, but it only cares about creatures with power 5 or greater. Anyways, Terror of the Peaks. We have a creature a little more easily killable, but also a little more easily recurable that way. This ability is always a strong one in Commander, so we're happy to see it. Sean hasn't found that yet, so I'll keep
still looking. Yeah,
keep looking.
It's a tough question.
It's all right. The next one we have here is Unleash Fury. 1 in a red for an instant that just has double the power of target creature until end of turn. Sneaky powerful thing. This is similar to Double Strike. We know that is a very powerful ability in all of Magic, really. Being able to double the power of something at instant speed is especially good because they're not gonna block something, and then all of a sudden, bam, that thing does twice as much damage you thought it was gonna do, and you're just gonna kill someone because of that. Obviously, you're looking at like those big attacking decks, whether it's like Gruul or Boros or whatever, and this type of card can end games, especially when it comes to your commander. If it's the attacking type and wants to get in there for damage, dealing double the damage is obviously incredibly powerful. Great.
I have deduced the correct ruling that deals with this. This is from Magic Rules, item 616.1. If 2 or more replacement and or prevention effects, that's what a damage doubler does, right? Like it would be doing damage, but we're going to replace that damage with double that damage.
Right.
If 2 or more are attempting to modify the way an event affects an object or player, the affected object's controller or the affected player chooses the order. So if I'm damaging you, you choose the order all the damage replacement happens. So you're going to put that triple first.
Yeah.
And then double it later. I mean, at that point, I don't think it matters.
It's gonna be crazy either way. Yeah. It's pretty wild. If you have a damage doubler and a damage tripler out, and you're trying to lightning bolt your opponent, it's like, okay, well, I'll do 18. It's like I'll do 18 to you instead of doing 24. So it's like it's not that much of a difference, but.
Yeah.
Anyways, good to know. Good to know if it ever comes up.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on to green. You can take green. Similarly to red, actually, I'm always surprised. I was surprised at how many really cool, good red commander cards there are. I'm surprised at how few green commander cards there are. There's usually a ton of them.
Wait a minute. It doesn't matter what order you stack it. If you're only multiplying, you can multiply in any order according to the order of operations.
Yeah?
It's only if you're adding.
Right, because that's Torbrand, right, yeah.
Right, so if you're just doubling or tripling, it doesn't matter. You're still going to do 18 from a lightning bolt, whether you triple it and then double it, or double it then triple it.
Oh, yeah, you're right. My math was weird there. Wrong. There's another word for it. Whoa.
Okay.
Everyone who was screaming at their podcasts/computers can stop now. We figured it out.
If you're looking at the video one, watch the revelation come over me while Andy's working so hard keeping you up to date on the cards.
So the reason we even came up with that was because Torbrand's adding changes how things work a bit. But yeah.
Yes.
All right, well, let's move on to green here. Let's see what green cards we saw in 21.
Okay. This one's gotten so much attention. Elder Gargaroth. 3 green. It's a 6/6 beast with vigilance, reach, and trample. And whenever it attacks or blocks, choose 1. Create a 3/3 beast, gain 3 life, or draw a card. What are I think people's biggest complaint about this is a fantastic green card. It's just raw power for the stats. It does stuff. We didn't talk about it, but they did reprint Baneslayer Angel, which should be the greatest creature in a set, but it pales. Elder Gargaroth beats Baneslayer Angel.
Yeah.
It's got reach.
Yeah, it stops it cold.
This is embarrassing.
Yeah.
How do you embarrass Baneslayer Angel?
That's wild.
That's
the fact
so
that it
dumb.
the fact that it just draws a card, that doesn't seem right. I know green can draw cards, but Again, and I think all the colors should draw cards. I think that. I'm not going back on what I said earlier.
Right.
But it just seems a little easy. Like, okay, here's this guy. Now all he has to do is attack or block, and I draw a card. It's like, okay, I guess, sure. Yeah, all right.
Yeah.
Sure.
Wow. And it's got vigilance, so you can attack pretty freely. You still have it for defense, so you could get a card on the attack and get a card on the defense if people attack you.
Card is stupid.
Yeah, it's kind of stupid.
Get 3/3s. You get to gain life. Like, draw a card. This card's wild. This is 5 mana 6/6.
I just had an idea for a new Magic card. It's 2 green, 9/9, vigilance, death touch, trample, reach, first strike. And whenever it attacks or blocks, you get to make a token copy of Ugin the Planeswalker. You get to, or you get to have 1 turn with Omniscience effect in play, or you win the game.
This is that, though. You're not wrong. Like, if someone put this card in the the subreddit of we make Magic cards, and now everyone can judge them and see if they're way overpowered or not realistic or wrong or anything, I really truly believe most people would be like, don't be ridiculous. Like, this card, you're like, this is
too much.
This is too much. No.
Don't make this card.
Don't make this card. It's bad. It's bad for
you
Magic.
You don't understand the parameters of card design in Magic.
You're new here to the subreddit or whatever. You're new to designing your own Magic cards. We understand. We're a fun community. We're good people here. Hope you had fun making this card. It'll never be printed.
I want to compare some other cards at 5 mana, just to see what kind of scale we're looking at.
This card is, that's what this card is. This card is Chromanticore.
Holy cow.
But green.
It's so much better than Chromanticore.
Yeah, it is. Chromanticore is a 4/4.
Wow.
Okay, well, this card's dumb, and I mean, if you can get one, play it. How much is this card?
It's only $10 right now.
$10, yeah. It's mythic.
I mean, you're getting a lot for it, so sure.
This is the card that I would have I mean, look, I like the card. Obviously, it's very good. But it's the card I would have totally lost my mind over when I first started playing Magic. I was like, I gotta have that one. Like, this is the one I would have had to have. I would have to have this card.
Do you remember Thragtusk?
Yeah, of course.
How you sort of get some of this in pieces eventually.
Yeah, that's right. And that card was too good. That card dominated a period of Standard.
Yeah.
Okay, let's move on here. Very good card. Garruk's Uprising is next. 2 and a green for an enchantment. At uncommon, it says whenever it enters the battlefield, if you control a creature with power 4 or greater, draw a card. Creatures you control have trample. And whenever a creature with power 4 or greater enters the battlefield under your control, draw a card. I love this card.
This card's fantastic.
Amazing. Gives your big stuff trample. It's got you drawing cards with it right away. Just coming into play, if you have a 4-power creature, you're drawing that card. It replaces itself. And you're going to be drawing cards going forward. I love it. I love it. I couldn't love it more. It's fantastic. I love this card more than Elder Gargaroth, and it's nowhere near as powerful.
Yeah. One of the sickest art pieces I've ever seen. It's so cool.
Yeah, it is cool to have the right in the middle of the art, Garruk's butt.
Yeah.
Right there for you. There it is.
Yeah.
His loincloth.
Loinclothed butt.
Yeah, he's like, hey, there's dinosaurs now? Great!
Yeah.
While they were gone, they figured that out. While he was gone, rather.
Let's go on to Spore Web Weaver. 2 and a green for a spider. 1/4 reach. Hexproof from blue. Can't target it with blue spells.
Not protection.
No.
Hexproof from blue.
Whenever Spore Web Weaver is dealt damage, you gain 1 life and create a 1/1 green Saproling creature token.
Pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. In the right decks, this can be a little bit of an engine if you get something going where you're just pinging the sky and making a bunch of stuff. Also, just a cool little blocker. But the thing, they're so wildly inconsistent with, okay, we're not doing protection anymore. Now we're doing hexproof from stuff. Okay, never mind. Protection's back. Okay, never mind. Okay, we're doing protection again. Protection's back. It's in the set. Okay, this next set, we bring it. Okay, hexproof is back, but so is protection. So now we're just doing both of them at the same time. Like, I know there's something that says they can't exist at the same time, but
Yeah.
it's funny that the initial like purpose of hexproof from a specific color was to replace protection, and now they're just both in the same set.
Right.
Yeah, like why not just give this pro blue? I don't get it. Because they wanted blue creatures to be able to hit it and deal damage, maybe. I guess.
Yeah, like you can't just be a brick wall to blue.
I guess.
I don't mind
of
that.
not.
Like
Blue needs a break.
it does provide a nice little design gray area.
Yes.
Right. Like it is nice that they're able to find some middle ground.
Yeah, I suppose it's just it's just funny. I like this card. It's nothing crazy powerful, but it's a neat little spider. Okay. Ooh,
Multicolor cards.
multicolored. We're at the home stretch here.
What's our first one?
The first one is Conclave Mentor. It's the Selesnya one, so it's green and white. It's a 2/2, and it says if one or more +1/+1 counters would be put on a creature you control, that many +1/+1/+1 counters are put on that creature instead, and then when it dies, you gain life equal to its power. So basically, it's like a hardened scales on a creature, right?
Yeah.
And hardened scales is also only +1/+1 counters, right? I think.
Right.
Yeah.
Right. We loved hardened scales because most often +1/+1 counters come one at a time, so it's sort of like doubling them.
Yeah. And in a lot of the combos that care about that, that is how it works. You're only putting one on anyways, so doubling is the same as just adding one more. So like that in those cases, that's when it matters anyways.
Yeah.
The downside being that it's got to be double color, so you're not putting this in a green blue deck or something.
Right.
It has to be Bant if we're doing that. So, that's a slight downside creature obviously, but it's a cool ability to come up and like to see it again. It's good.
Hardened scales was getting expensive, so good.
Yeah.
Next up is Experimental Overload. 2 red blue for a sorcery. Create an XX blue and red weird creature token, where X is the number of instants and sorceries in your graveyard. Then you may return an instant and sorcery from your graveyard to your hand, and then you exile this card. So we like Archaeomancer. There's lots of decks that run creatures that return spells. This is the same price CMC as an Archaeomancer, but we'll probably get a way bigger creature out of it. The downside is it doesn't come on a creature, so you can't bounce it. We're going to bounce Archaeomancer or Mnemonic Wall to get more spells back. Unfortunately, you can't do that with this, but it might not matter as much. Sometimes you might want an 8/8 instead of that 2/2 to start swinging.
Yeah, we can copy this. So like, there's still ways to kind of abuse this, but without bouncing a creature or whatever. So still good, still really good. Like this is an experiment. This is like experimental overload. This is an epic experimental overload card for sure, right? Like this belongs in that deck, I think. Very cool card. Next, we have Indulging Patrician. 1 white black for a flying 1/4 vampire noble with lifelink, and it says at the beginning of your end step, if you gained 3 or more life this turn, each opponent loses 3 life. Again, I'll say it. This is I'm just happy to see something that will end the game faster when a life gain deck is in play. Please put me out of my misery, life gain decks. If you're gaining all the life and you're doing it, good. Just please kill me at the same time. That's all. Great.
Yeah. 3 to each opponent is a lot.
Yeah, it is, and it adds up. I mean, it's end step only, but it does add up.
Yeah. Next up is Leafkin Avenger. This is the Gruul multicolor. 2 red-green for an elemental druid. It's a 4/3, and it's a mana dark. Tap to add green for each creature you control with power 4 or greater. It's always got my attention if you can get more than 1 mana out of a creature.
Yeah.
In decks that want this effect probably have tons of those, so you're probably able to tap for 3 or 4 or more, which is amazing. Also, 7 and a red, Leafkin Avenger deals damage equal to its power to target player or planeswalker. You got nothing to do at the end of a turn if you're saving up for something. I mean, that's 4 damage. That's significant.
Yep. To be noted also, you can use the mana that Leafkin Avenger produces to activate its own ability.
Tap.
Yeah. So that's kind of cool. Next is Obsessive Stitcher, 1 blue black for the 0/3. It's a human wizard. It taps to draw a card and then discard a card, so it's a looter. A helpful creature type in general. But also 2 blue-black, tap, sacrifice Obsessive Stitcher, return target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield. So it's a reanimation spell on a looter. I love these cards in Commander because it does a job. It's giving you that card selection. It's filling the graveyard. And then finally, when you want, you can get some big creature back out. And then also just bring this human wizard back again and keep doing it. Like, there's ways to do that too, right? So these are the colors for it. This is a zombie's best friend, this human wizard.
Yeah, I think it's very cool. Very fun. One more multicolor. It's a legendary enchantment. It's all 5 colors. If there was a time to campaign to let legendary other things be commanders, we would want this to be a commander.
That's right, yeah.
This is Sanctum of All. White, blue, black, red, green. Legendary enchantment Shrine. At the beginning of your upkeep, you may search your library and or graveyard for a shrine card and put it on the battlefield. If you do, shuffle your library. If an ability of another shrine you control triggers while you control 6 or more shrines, trigger it at an additional time.
Yes.
So you gotta like obviously. So there's now 10 shrines. There used to be 5 shrines, and they just made
6 now. Or sorry, 11.
11, including this one. I meant 10, and I'm assuming Sanctum is like the one that gets them all. Right. You've got 11 cards in your 5-color deck that arguably a lot of the shrines don't do a lot until you have like a ton of them.
Yeah, that's true. That's true. I mean, the blue ones are going to draw you cards. And like, think the new green one gives you mana. Like, I mean, without going over everything, obviously, there's some that are better than others. But when they do all get together, like, you can, if this thing's doubling the effects, like, it's cool.
It's pretty cool. You get to search your graveyard for them if if somehow you milled them or discarded them. I think if you want to just, you don't need all 11, cut a couple of them, right? Sanctum of All and a few more in your 5-color deck. You've got your 5-color deck. You just maybe make 8 cuts, put in 8 of these shrines and just see what happens. See if you can make it work.
I don't know, because I'm just looking at the shrines right now, and the old green one puts out tokens. The old black one discards cards. The blue one draws cards. The old red one deals damage to creatures or players. The white one is gaining us life. So that would be one of the ones you would cut probably. But I don't think you cut any. I think you want, because even if you're only getting that
white one,
even if you're only getting that original, let's say the worst one, even if it was just one that gained 1 life, it's worth it just to pump up your other shrines, is it not? You only have 10 of them, so you might. I think you want to even run the quote bad ones.
Yeah,
they're gonna pump up everything else. If you forget that black one out, your opponent's just not gonna have a hand.
It's true.
You're just discarding cards at the beginning of your upkeep.
Tempting.
It's something, let me tell you. Anyway, so it's cool that they did this. I'm happy to see this, man. I've always wanted the shrines to be more of a thing in Commander, and this allows it to happen. It is just kind of a shame that they didn't. Trust me, look, it makes sense that this is a legendary enchantment, and it's a shrine, of course, itself. But I wish it was a creature that cared about the shrines some way. Why couldn't it be
a living shrine?
Yeah, exactly. Why couldn't it be a legendary enchantment creature shrine?
Yeah,
you can do that. We can do that.
Yeah, and just give it a name like the Avatar. We used to have avatars all the time, like that.
Yeah, and Kamigawa had to do with gods and stuff, didn't it? Sort of.
You know what? If we got walking Stonehenges and stuff, a shrine can walk around and be a creature.
The living shrine,
why the heck
right?
Not?
Anyway, so
Wizards, please.
Yeah, a bit of a missed opportunity here. I think this could have been a really cool commander.
If you sit down at my commander table, you're allowed to play Sanctum of All as your
Agreed.
commander.
You're allowed. I'll agree to it. That is officially errata when it comes to Commander's Brew games.
Yeah.
Are we going to talk about
these? We got to have one on Battle of the Brews then.
That's true. We should. We have to. Now that we said it.
We have to do one of alternative legendary.
Yeah, we should. That's a great idea because there's a couple. There's a couple out there that people use. Okay, cool.
Well, once the quarantine ends and we're able to play person games again.
Yeah, it'll be a while. Okay.
All right. Can we talk reprints? There's some very exciting reprints.
There are some very exciting reprints. Let's run these through because they're good.
Yeah.
Okay, let's start off with Azusa Lost But Seeking. Oh man, how long have we been asking for this to be reprinted again?
Wizards, thanks.
It was reprinted in M25, but now it's in a set that we're actually going to be drafting for a regular price.
Yeah.
And it is kind of a shame though that because of the pandemic, like we are going to be drafting these less so
Yeah.
in person. So it is tough that the prices are. I feel like the prices aren't going to be as effective as they normally would, but luckily, like half the United States doesn't give a shit, so they're just going to be drafting it anyways.
Language.
Oh yeah, sorry. So whatever. So whatever. So hopefully it'll affect it like normal, and we'll see Azusa. But Azusa's 2 and a green for a 1/2. You may play 2 additional lands on each of your turns. She's a legendary human monk. Just something that we really needed to reprint, and happy to see her back in standard, I guess. Yeah.
Yeah, another one. It's a new card invented in Throne of Eldraine, but Fabled Passage. This is the Evolving Wilds that comes into play untapped as long as you have 4 or more lands, which is like perfect, right? You don't want your first land to be anything you want untapped. That's too powerful. But once you're at land 4, competitive games are over by then, so let's give it to us. Let's let it happen.
Yeah, and let's reprint it so that it can be even cheaper for Commander players. I love it.
Yes, thank you.
Very good. And, of course, a pure Commander staple, Solemn Simulacrum, is getting the reprint treatment here. 4 mana for the 2/2 artifact golem creature. When it enters the battlefield, you search your library for a basic land card, put it in the battlefield tapped. And then when it dies, you draw a card. This card, it could quite possibly go in every Commander deck.
It feels like this is the right amount of reprints for the average set, but the hits just keep on coming. They gave us more. Scavenging Ooze, also reprinted, 1 and a green, staple in a green deck. It's a 2/2, but you can pay a green to exile a card from a graveyard, and if it was a creature, you put a +1/+1 counter on it, and you gain a life. It kills graveyards with targeted removal, so as people try to reanimate things, you can answer it by removing the card. Or if nothing else is happening, you just make it a giant threat over time. It's amazing.
Absolutely. And getting a little more narrow, but still a relevant card, and one that was reprinted in Ultimate Masters, but here we see it in a core set, is Containment Priest, 1 and a white. For the 2/2 with Flash, it's a human cleric. If a non-token creature would enter the battlefield and it wasn't cast, exile it instead. This was back when they used to, because this was originally printed in a Commander set. I can't remember which one.
2014.
So this was back when they would like sneak a legacy card that they want, like a new card for Legacy. They'd sneak it in, or Vintage for that matter. They'd sneak it into the Commander product and hopefully like boost the sales that way. But it had this kind of negative effect where it would drive up the cost of the Commander decks, and then Commander players would end up just selling Containment Priest because it was like, it alone was like $30-$40 or something. So now we just have it out, and actually this card is really good, man. Like, people are trying to cheat things into play. They're trying to reanimate stuff. Containment Priest does the trick. And it should be noted that it's not just the turn that it happened. You can flash it out in response to something being put into the battlefield, but the ability just keeps going. Like, they can't do it as long as you have Containment Priest, which I always mess that up.
Yeah. They reprinted Grim Tutor.
Wow.
One black for a sorcery. Tutor up a card, put it in your hand, lose 3 life. Great. This was, I think, $200 plus before. That's a bold reprint. Yeah, it was like $200. Like thank you. They've agreed that a 2 mana tutor is a little bit pricey. A little bit too efficient.
Right.
But 4 mana tutor is kind of the average. We've gotten that one reprinted a million times.
Yeah.
So
and
shave off a mana,
like,
make
good.
you pay life.
The 4 mana tutor is just not good in any format, basically. I like to run it sometimes just because whatever, it's really cheap price wise, but Grim Tutor, it's still like $25. So it's still up there. It's a mythic from the set. So
yeah.
That's so funny because 1 mana difference and you lose a life, man. Anyways,
The hits keep coming.
they do, and here it is. Cube staple. Massacre Worm is being reprinted here.
Yeah.
3 black for the creature Worm. It's a 6/5. When it enters the battlefield, creatures your opponents control get -2/-2 until end of turn. And whenever a creature an opponent controls is put into a graveyard from the battlefield, the player loses 2 life. Yeah, really good. Again, same thing. Whenever a creature an opponent controls is put in the graveyard from the battlefield, put into a graveyard from the battlefield, you lose. So it dies. Sorry, I'm reading the weird old writing on it.
Oh yeah, that's the other version.
Whenever it dies, the player loses 2 life. That's just now from as long as the worm's on the table. That just keeps happening. It's not just when it comes in like the -2/-2, right?
Yeah.
This can kill players with tokens, obviously. This does a lot of work. It's a big creature. You can recur this thing. You can, bounce it, whatever. It's great. Massacre Worm. Really happy to see this reprinted. What's the price on it?
Right now $6.50.
That's
That'll
not-
come down, I think.
I think so, too.
But down from like 20.
Yeah, that's not bad at all. That's nice.
Yeah.
Yep.
You want more great
You want
reprints?
more?
How about Cultivate? 2 and a green for a sorcery. Search for 2 basics, 1 in play, 1 in your hand. Classic. Cultivate keeps getting more expensive. Let's bring it down to 50 cents. Wizards, thanks.
Wizards, thanks. And another huge Wizards thanks to them for bringing back Heroic Intervention. 1 and a green for the instant that says permanents you control gain hexproof and indestructible until end of turn. Yes. This card snuck up on us. I remember we liked this card a lot in the set review. And it was cheap at the time when it came out. Like no one was really freaking out over Heroic Intervention around Kaladesh.
Aether Revolt.
Ether Revolt. Yeah. And we slept on it, I remember, because thinking like, oh, I gotta get some of those. And then before I knew it, this card was crazy expensive. And I'm like, well, I'm not getting any of those.
Yeah.
Well, now here we are. What is the price looking like on this one again?
Under 7, but it's brand new. Like I think it'll still come down a little bit,
still will, for
but
sure.
down from the 20 it used to, or 10 to 20 it used to be.
Love it. Wizards, thanks.
Wizards, thanks.
Yeah,
M21.
M21. This is what I'm talking about. Like we had a host of really cool new cards, and we've got some really great reprints. I am like I said, I'm excited for the set, and I'm pleased. I am pleased. I'm happy.
Yeah, this is great. Wizards, thanks for throwing out a great M21. It's out already, I think. I don't know. I mean, you can play it online, and since I never leave the house anymore,
Yeah.
it feels out. I don't know if it's out
I
for
know.
like human beings in the world yet with working corporeal fingers and hands.
Yeah, with physical beings and
So
tactile
old-fashioned.
abilities. Yeah.
Well, you have to use your hands.
What? Yeah, no, haven't played well, I mean, still looking at VEDH. Something we'll talk about. But anyways, thanks everyone for listening. That's the show. That's the set review this week. We'll be back next week with another with a new deck tech. But yeah, thanks again. And just a reminder, TCG Player is a great way to pick up these cards. If you're looking to do that outside of Canada, you can follow the affiliate link we have in our show notes below, and below the YouTube channel, or below the YouTube video rather, sorry. And if you're in Canada, always remember to check out Wizard Tower, wizardtower.com, and you can get a slice off those singles that you're ordering within Canada. Thanks for listening, everyone. We'll see you next week.
Bye.
Bye.
Thanks for watching. If you love what we're doing, consider supporting the show by going to patreon.com/commandersbrew.
And if you want to get any of the cards from our deck list, go to our TCG Player affiliate link below.
That helps us out too, and for a free way to help us out, consider sharing the show with some friends. Like and subscribe, add a comment or two.
See you later.
Bye.